Welcome in or welcome back. The Veiled Archive. We're going to dive right into Victoria Williamson's The Screaming Room. What if the most peaceful places we know are actually the most haunted? What if the serene, quiet halls of a museum are filled with a terror that only you can hear? Today we're unlocking a chilling tale of childhood trauma, lost innocence, and the beautiful, brutal horror of a butterfly exhibit. This is our full expose of Victoria Williamson's haunting short story, The Screaming Room. What is the story about? The Screaming Room is a short horror story that follows a character named Jeremy. As a child, he has a traumatic experience in a museum with a room filled with pinned butterflies. This experience leaves a lasting scar on his psyche. The story is rooted in the unnerving and uncanny rather than traditional horror tropes. The encounter haunts him into adulthood, and he comes to connect butterflies to the souls of the dead. As an adult, Jeremy reluctantly returns to the museum, where he discovers a brown butterfly pinned in a display case that looks familiar. The story builds slowly, drawing the reader in with hints and flashes. What sets it apart? The Screaming Room is a standout work for several reasons. A quiet or literary horror. The story delivers a chilling rather than terrifying experience. The horror comes from the characters and their nuanced choices, not from gore. It is an excellent read for someone who doesn't typically gravitate toward horror but wants something a little spooky. Thematic depth. The story is rich with powerful themes, particularly loss and grief. The main character is grieving for what might have been and for missed opportunities, giving the story a strong emotional core. The themes also include the relationship between parents and children. Unique concept. The story's concept of pinned butterflies representing the souls of the dead is unique and spooky. The idea puts a new perspective on museum collections. And how have readers reacted or responded? The feedback for The Screaming Room is overwhelmingly positive, atmospheric, and unsettling. Reviewers describe the story as eerie, intriguing, and unsettling. It has been noted for its ability to crawl under your skin and stay there long after you finish. Strong characterization. The author is praised for her ability to write a complex, nuanced, and sympathetic character. The horror often stems from the character himself, making his dark actions understandable. Compelling writing. The story has been noted for its compelling and well-written prose. The writing is considered lush, with a poetic lyricism that adds a musical rhythm to the prose. In my personal review, Victoria Williamson's The Screaming Room is a masterful and deeply unsettling tale that transcends its short story format to deliver a profound and lasting impact. The narrative, anchored by the quiet and observant protagonist, Jeremy, unfolds with a sensitivity that makes the burgeoning horror all the more potent. The story's true power lies in its ability to trust the reader, revealing its chilling truths through subtext and atmosphere rather than explicit exposition. Key symbolic moments, such as the recurring motif of the butterfly, are handled with such poignant grace that they are truly shattering, leaving an emotional resonance that lingers long after the final page. Williamson's prose is both beautiful and vivid, creating a setting in the museum that is not just a backdrop, but an eerie, menacing character in its own right. The suspense builds with an almost unbearable tension, pulling the reader into an atmosphere of creeping unease that blurs the lines between memory and menace, leaving you questioning what is real. For those who appreciate stories that are as emotionally rich as they are terrifying, The Screaming Room is an essential read and a brilliant start to the Eerie Exhibits collection. It is a testament to an author with a remarkable gift for crafting captivating and deeply psychological horror. And of course, our author spotlight today is on Victoria Williamson, and direct from her Amazon bio. Victoria Williamson is an award winning author from Glasgow, Scotland, who has worked as an educator in a number of different countries, including as an English teacher in China, a secondary school science teacher in Cameroon, a teacher trainer in Malawi, and an additional support needs teacher in the UK. Victoria writes and edits books for the education company Twinkle. She spends the rest of her time writing novels for children and creepy tales for adults, and visiting schools, libraries, and literary festivals to give author talks and run creative writing workshops. When not writing or talking about books, she's often to be found up to her knees in mud on an archaeological dig, or tangled up in a ball of wool playing with a crochet hook. Her favorite time of year is autumn, when mists descend on the Scottish moors and eerie stories come whispering on the wind on dark evenings. Exploring quiet horror. The Screaming Room is an excellent example of quiet horror or literary horror, a subgenre that focuses on psychological and atmospheric dread over overt violence or jump scares. The fear is not external, it's an internal dread built on emotional tension and subtle, unsettling details. The story creates a chilling rather than terrifying experience, making it accessible to those who are not traditional horror readers. By focusing on the protagonist's trauma and moral choices, the story makes the horror feel more personal and lasting than a simple monster could. The power of symbolism in this screaming butterfly. The central and most effective symbol in the story is the pinned butterfly. It is a unique and spooky concept that connects the physical world of a museum with the spiritual world of lost souls. The idea that these delicate, beautiful creatures are not just inanimate specimens, but are trapped, screaming souls is inherently unsettling. It reframes a place of childhood wonder into a setting of profound dread. This symbolism allows the author to explore the themes of loss and grief by connecting a past traumatic event to a present haunting. It creates a new perspective on museum collections, making you look at beautiful, preserved objects with a new sense of unease. We all have some form of childhood memory that forever clings on the fringes of our psyche. And although vastly different from the story's illustrations, mine happened in central Wisconsin in a marsh for the search and rescue. This must have been the very late 1970s or extremely early 1980s. I don't remember exactly when. But my dad uh, helped out local search and rescue when somebody was lost in one of the marshes close by. To the best of my knowledge, they never ended up finding the body. But the reason that this is relevant in my mind is that years later we hunted that same land. Now, as time passed, I mean, there wasn't as much water in the waterways as there was at that point, but it still made those early morning treks into the forests surrounding the marsh extremely eerie, especially when it's pitch black, 5 a.m., late November. It's freezing generally, and all you can hear is crunching and frost snapping, and your head is on a swivel the entire time. But for me, also knowing that somebody may or may not have lost their life not far from there always made it that much more chilling. That is the best real world example I can think of in my past that can relate to this story. And I know I'm not the only one. We all have something similar. Um, but that's what this story reminded me of. There's certainly others that stand out in childhood memory. Falling into the duck pond at the Milwaukee County Museum is one of them. Something I remember not so fondly, yet everybody else had quite the chuckle over. But I can absolutely relate to the story itself as far as exhibits in museums. And that's something we're going to explore a little bit later on, too, because this is only book one in Victoria Williamson's series, Eerie Exhibits. I am looking forward to diving into the other books, and to the best of my knowledge, there's five of them. I don't know if we'll do all five of them. I guess it depends. Now we'll see where that goes. But next up for the channel, on the Veiled Archive, what if the biggest threat to humanity wasn't a physical monster, but an ancient demonic lineage hiding in plain sight? And what if the person who discovers it loses his faith and his mind in the process? Join us next time for our deep dive into Daniel Bannon's chilling novel, The Scarlet Lineage. And then I would be remiss if I did not pay homage to the YouTube gods and ask for your like and subscribe. And certainly share if these conversations are for you or anyone else you may know. I appreciate your time and see you next time on the Veiled Archive.